What we're seeing in memory is oversupply, and memory is kind of like oil. If there's just a little bit of extra supply, pricing gets crushed. And so for both DRAM and NAND, we're seeing pricing come down. Melissa, people remember back in 2015 when pricing started to roll over. Companies like Micron went from making a lot of money to losing a lot of money, and that stock in particular, went from like the mid-30s to a single digit, and so I think there's a lot of fear of history repeating itself here.
I think that's a really apt metaphor to use, Romit, in terms of comparing it to the oil industry, because the booms and busts are as dramatic in this particular area of the chip sector. Is this an oversupply problem? Was this Micron making too many chips, or is this in part even a demand problem? And I guess what I'm getting at is this going to indicate that there is weakness for demand for these chips and therefore weakness in other parts of the supply chain?
Yeah, it's probably a little bit of both. Certainly in NAND, we've seen supply increase. I think demand has been weaker. It's been well documented that Apple's been carrying quite a bit of inventory throughout the year. I think what's going on between U.S. and China in terms of trade has had an impact as well. So it's both demand and supply.
So in terms of what it is forecasting for the rest of the sector, I know that this may go a little bit beyond your coverage universe, but in terms of seeing past cycles, has this indicated broader tech weakness? Because some will argue that semis are the most cyclical area of the tech sector.
I think the sector is very fragmented, and so what you're seeing in memory today doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to spill over into other areas like analog or wireless. One name that we really like here at these levels is Qualcomm. Independent of what's happening in the smartphone space, this is a company that seems very close to settling with Apple in their dispute. We think there's a greater than 50% probability that you get resolution by the end of the year. If that happens, we see a scenario where Qualcomm could go from $70 to $80.